Here we are. We're live.
Good afternoon, David.
I'll do the thing that I said I wasn't going to do, but I'm going to do it
No,
anyway.
no, you're no.
Oh. And that's the end of the no, you know.
Aye.
Oh dear. Right, guys, you've all been sitting there waiting on us.
Thank you very much.
In actual fact, it was Murder She Wrote that was the first one up. Huh?
Keep telling you that's her sister.
It's her sister.
Right, that's Facebook online, own ways and all now, David.
Aye, good. Good.
Interesting week of campaigning.
Aye. But to be honest with you, all the usual nonsense that goes in with it, you know.
Aye, Dean.
Hello, Robert. How you doing, mate?
Aye, all the usual nonsense, but we'll get to it in a minute.
Yeah.
We'll let Facebook get on board. First, we'll get a couple in. We'll get Nancy in. We'll get Lenny in.
Yeah.
Get Lorna in. Where we go? We get Ali
City Flyer, right? That's a good one. Thank you.
City Flyer.
And our Chris is in.
Aye, John Bell's in. Hi, John. There's another one I've seen in there, which I don't see here that often. I've seen that Reagan Elites here, folks. Mind give Reagan Elites we page a look at on YouTube, along with Max Robespierre, all shots.
We work for Chris Wilson. Maybe you can give a wee call after the show. Give us maybe 10 minutes after the show. Give me a wee call if you're free. That's all.
Right, David, we're up over the 100 mark, so let's get this broadcast on the way. It's the two Davies on the 17th to the 6th, 2024. Major new poll shows SNP to remain biggest party in Scotland on 37 seats. Holding all the Glasgow seats. Labour are predicted to get 14 seats across the Central Belt.
No good.
In Glasgow.
No good. It's still a drop.
David, but it's still a big enough majority to push Westminster.
Well, Westminster will just come back with, well, you had 40 something then, now you've got 30 something now.
The majority of people will have spoken, and that's what's going to say in the manifesto.
Yeah. Hey, look, but believe me when I say I'm on your side, and I'm on
David,
your side.
We crunched the numbers, and there's been no shift because the poll tracker still says the SNP on 3% of the UK population.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Which was, we crunched it out to about 37 seats, did we know?
Yeah, I know that, but I'm still, I'm trying to be pragmatic, and I'm looking at this from the point of view of what you're going to get from Labour that will now be sitting in number 10, right?
Yes.
And Keir Starmer will be sitting there and they'll go, you have 40 MPs the last time, now you've only got 37. That tells me that less people are wanting independence in Scotland anyway.
I know, but that's when they're going to take an aggressive view on it.
Yes, it's the aggressiveness that I've still to see, and I need to see it. Yeah?
Aye. Right, John's up in Stornoway today, giving a big speech.
Aye, no, well.
He's the SNP are predicted to hold the seat now. In this speech, he's telling people, look, you can either stick with the same Thatcherite crap for Labour and the Conservatives, or you can pick the SNP and a brighter, more progressive and a prosperous future. And he's also telling them that the only way back into the EU is a vote for the SNP, but we'll get a wee bit more of that further in.
Yeah.
But preaching to converted, if he's predicted to hold that seat, it's a matter of how much telly time he gets for this speech to go right across Scotland, which will be zero to fuck all.
Yeah.
You know, I don't suppose, I haven't seen mainstream broadcasters, as you know, David, today. I won't catch up on clips of that until later, but I don't suppose the mainstream broadcasters here in Scotland are showing the population here in Scotland John Swinney's speech in Stornoway today.
They won't pick it up because I'm sure, now pretty sure that all of those broadcasters would instantly jump on and broadcast anything bad regarding John Swinney. But when it comes to a party political speech given at in the Western Highland Hebrides, they just won't do it. They'd rather put Nigel Farage up in front of people.
Well, Dean's telling us that the mainstream broadcasters here have picked up John's speech today.
Where? Sky News?
I don't
Was
know.
Was it the full
I haven't
thing?
seen the mainstream broadcasters, but what Dean's saying is they have picked up on John's speech today.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough then. But as I say, he has got a point. And we'll get a wee bit more of that as we get further in and all. But he has got a point. The Labour and Tory at this point in time, they're both Thatcherite parties. They're parties of neoliberalism. They're parties of more of the same.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on, the Greens here in Scotland go to war with the Greens in England and Wales.
Yeah, this is. I'm not going to say it's funny. It's not funny at all. However, it does show that there is a real difference between the two parties. One party is being driven at the moment by transgender reform, whatever, that sort of line. And the other side, which is the England and Wales
side,
they're looking at them going, "What are you doing? You're forgetting what the Greens were set up for." And the Greens were set up for climate change, whatever, all that stuff.
Yeah. But this is a non-story because the Greens in Scotland did a vote back, I think it was October 2022, to cut ties with the English and Welsh and party altogether.
Yeah.
So I have no idea why this made the press.
Don't know.
Just merely this culture war transphobia shit.
Yeah.
Because so far this election has been deplorable.
Yeah.
We've had anti-Semitism,
Islamophobia,
the gender wars. I mean, it's been the coverage has been disgusting.
No such thing as anti-Semitism, David. You know that, don't you?
Yes, we've discussed that. I mean, you would need to be anti all four countries that practice Semitic languages to be anti-Semitic.
Semitic, that's right. Yeah.
But as I say, the other thing that was interesting coming out of the Greens was actually from the English Greens and Caroline Lucas.
Yeah.
Telling the English people to prepare for life out with the UK.
Yeah.
Because Caroline Lucas says the UK is done. As a single entity, it's broken. And England be as well looking to itself to sort its own problems out.
So in other words, what you're talking about, what she's talking about, what you're mentioning is English independence.
Yes.
So in other words, England becomes independent of any of the other countries.
Yes.
Interesting. We've talked about it.
Caroline Lucas is telling what we prepare for life out with the UK because the UK is now a doomed enterprise.
In fact, is that not the nub of the information from the poll that Michael Gove was trying to hide? It wasn't so much hiding the Scottish bit.
No,
it was hiding the poll on England.
That's right, because we know the last one that was publicly asked was 49% yes, without even a kick-off.
Yeah.
And their take back control mantra would probably mean that England would vote for the Union.
Now, this is the thing we've seen in the past. When an issue is sitting cold and people are asked, well, how would you vote, that way or that way, right? And they give their thing, and it comes out sort of like 50-50, right? Okay. It's when a campaign is actually started, when the whole thing starts to move, all of a sudden it swings one way or the other, right?
As I say, David, do you imagine if we started the campaign at 49%, we'd have fucking run a savvy. I mean, we started at 28%, ended at 45%.
That's right. Yeah.
If their starting point is 49%,
Yeah.
And as we know, that's the last poll information any of us have been able to pick up on it.
Yeah.
Because they stopped asking the bloody question that frightened them that much.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but it's interesting that Caroline Lucas is telling England to prepare for life outside the UK because it's a doomed enterprise.
Life outside the UK. Well, I'll tell you what they won't have. They won't have all the natural resources that Scotland's got.
That's for sure.
And I think that there are quite a lot of let's say, Tory MPs that are well aware of the amount of natural resources that Scotland has, and to lose it from the group. If it was left just as England and Scotland, forget Northern Ireland, forget Wales, right? England, Scotland, they'd be quite happy at that.
But as I say, she's telling the people of England it's time to start looking at this because obviously there's disgruntledness right across these islands, and that's the direction of travel as far as Caroline Lucas is concerned. Right.
Have you
Meanwhile,
seen that on more than one article? Have you seen?
I also seen her speaking about it up here in November when she was up here last November for a conference.
Right.
On the Break Up UK conference.
Yes.
So this isn't new for her.
Okay.
So, anyway, meanwhile, back here in Scotland, we're still here in Scotland, the Alpha Party has approached Ofcom to force the broadcaster STV to go on with its leader debates because apparently they've put it off to the end of the Euros, which leaves only a couple of days to the vote.
Are they right? Of course they're right. Of course they're right.
At this point,
they are a party that are trying to get MPs in certain strategic places, and to not give them that air time would be undemocratic. So in that sense, I think Albert are quite right, and I would support them in that. Yeah.
Well, as I say, there's no way that these debates should be getting sidelined because of the football.
Yeah.
That's mental. Tina, it must be a Facebook problem. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So
switch to YouTube. Yeah.
Tina could do that, aye.
Yeah, well, that seems to make a lot of sense. I know people tend to sit and hang around in the Facebook thing, but seriously, when we're doing a broadcast like this, it's just as easy just to go onto YouTube and the little spyglass, click on that and type in the two Davies, and here you are. You know.
A lot of people like on Facebook, David, on the back, watch the back on Facebook.
Yeah.
So the Alpha Party want Ofcom to force STV to go on with these bloody debates as we're only 4 weeks away now for the vote.
I agree.
And 2 weeks it's going to be a football tournament, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. Forget the football tournament. What are we doing here? Are we all blooming looking to get the result of who can kick a ball into an oblong frame the most, right? Or are we trying to actually sort out the politics in this country? Because the previous party, the Tories, have broken the economy of the United Kingdom.
Fuck. It's been broken for years, David. We've watched the boom and bust cycles get shorter and shorter and shorter each time because there's less to pull out of the ordinary man's pocket each time these cycles come round. But talking about which, I'll move us on to a couple of interesting studies coming out for the IFS this week. One is that Scotland is the most productive part of the UK.
It's all apart from the very southeast, right? Southeast. Yeah, southeast are still considered as being they are the
banking sector in London, basically.
Yeah.
But the other interesting one for IFS had the SNP take aim at Labour, and that is the IFS has done a major new study into the two-child cap.
Yeah.
Down that road, and they've predicted that over the next Parliament, if Labour keep this two-child cap, it will force another 670,000 children into poverty. Now, they say that the two-child cap staying in 2025 alone, we'll see another 250,000 children thrown into poverty. Thanks, John. That's generous of you, mate.
Thanks, John. I mean, to be honest with you, what are we actually talking about in terms of
to get rid of it, we're talking about 2.5 billion a year.
Yeah.
To get rid of the two-child cap. Right. Now, Child Poverty Action Group leader, Chief Executive Alison Graham, said child poverty in the UK is a disgrace, and the main driver of child poverty in the UK is the two-child cap stroke rate clause.
Yeah.
That's the main driver.
Yeah.
And the SNP social justice spokesperson at Westminster, he forgot to write his name now, says Labour will drive thousands of Scots kids into poverty with retaining the two-child cap.
Well, oh, thank you, Duncan. I've got my £100 ready when the Greens don't win a Scottish seat in Westminster election.
Aye.
Yeah, could be happening. Yes.
Aye, it looks like we're all going to be in for £100 here, David.
Yes.
We bet you that they won't take a seat. So if they won't take a seat, then we'll pay her. Hey, hold on. No, you're paying £100 if they don't want a seat. Yeah. We'll all throw £100 in the pot when they don't take a seat.
Yeah, stupid man, honestly. And what they've done is effectively they have strategically put themselves out of the fight in Scotland. Simple as that. You know.
As you know, the SNP have put ending child poverty at the centre, eradicating child poverty at the centre of their manifesto. But it's not something we're going to be able to do while these bampots are in doing that road.
Yeah, what
because
we're doing is
cut year on year anyway at the moment.
All we're doing is mitigating things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, we're allowing these bastards down the road to blooming put a charge into, you know, the additional room charge that's going on, right?
Tax.
And
we mitigate the bedroom tax, and the two-child cap doesn't exist in Scotland because we mitigate that as well.
Yeah, something.
I don't know if our viewers in England know this, but there is no two-child benefit cap in Scotland. The SNP government mitigate it. So if you go further than 2 children in Scotland, we'll pay it out.
Yeah, what happens is, as you say, the government in England, that's what it is. Let's look it square in the face. The government in England are making something happen, and the government in Scotland are having to pay money to stop that having an effect on their people.
That's one I went, but Scotland would start with AAA credit rating. It's actually AAA plus credit rating.
Yeah.
AAA plus credit rating to start with. Right.
So IFS, if you don't know what that is, it's the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Yeah. There was another one that came up the other day.
I mean, the Institute for Fiscal Studies is quoted a lot, right?
Yeah.
But let's everybody keep this in perspective. It's a think tank.
Yeah.
There are good ones, there are bad ones. The Institute for Fiscal Studies is neither one or t'other. You know.
Just to give you an exact description, what does OBR stand for?
Office for Budget Responsibility.
Yeah, that's right. Who set it up?
George Osborne. It's a think tank.
Correct. And what did Sunak say on telly yesterday? He said, all our figures are all run through the OBR, which is completely, they're unbiased in any way whatsoever.
Aye.
It was a Tory.
What he was saying is they're separate from government, but it was a Tory thing that set it up. It's a think tank.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on, David.
Sorry, mate.
Now, Rachel Reeves gave a wee speech there to the city bankers in the City of London. I thought it was very interesting. And she tells the city bankers in the City of London that the Labour manifesto has their sticky fingers all over it.
Uh-huh.
Now, what she tells them is that they had major influence in the Labour manifesto because of the talks she's had with the bankers over the last 3 years. You know. Now, after the speech, where she's talking to the bankers about no threatening their wealth and draining the money out the public purse, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, Paul Johnson, he's the head of the Institute for Fiscal Studies. He says the Labour manifesto does absolutely nothing to roll back on cuts, and it will be continued austerity.
Yeah.
And Gemma Tetlow, who's the chief executive at the Institute for Government, another fucking think tank, says Labour have done nothing in the programme for government to roll back baked-in cuts. Apparently, the bankers are chuffed.
Why? The bankers basically are getting the old Tory party back again, right?
All right.
Maybe a bit more in their favour, right? Bankers love it.
Aye. I mean, after all, Starmer and Reeves has now been telling us that the Labour's now the party of a business and the party of the achievers.
Yeah.
You know, or the wealth producers.
So, in actual fact, what has happened? We've got the bankers really. Gordon Brown said he saved the world when he sold off the gold and all the rest of it, right? That helped the bankers. He stopped what was it? What was it called again? I forget what it was. Hyper. It's where they couldn't overstate an asset. So you buy a house, you go in and buy a house for £100,000.
Oh, is that when they were fucking out with the Labour?
The bank overstate the value of that house has been 150, and every time it goes round, it adds another bit. You've still got a house that is valued at £100,000, whereas the banks are able to wield that as an asset far in excess of what it is. And it was Gordon Brown that allowed that to happen. If you're in America, they don't allow that whatsoever.
It's a bit like a fractional banking in the housing market.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, that's what it's like. Right, otherwise, down there in England, Reform UK overtake the Tories in the polls.
Yes.
Bit of a shocker, eh?
Yeah. Listen, guys, you'll notice that we're being pretty easy, slow, and all the rest of it about things that are going on at this part of the race. It's the final 2 weeks that are going to be where you see a bit of action, right?
But so that Reform now claims that they will be the next official opposition.
Yeah.
And Nigel Farage hits back at the Tory party by claiming that it was David Cameron that ruined the Tory party and no them, because Nigel and Cameron have been long-term enemies since school. And he's absolutely, in this case, by the way, Farage is right. Farage wanted to goad Cameron into that Brexit referendum.
Yeah.
You know, so basically Cameron was the stupid one who brought the Tory party down.
Well, don't forget, you had a whole section of Tory MPs that really were gunning to get rid of the EU.
I know, but they were only about 70 MPs, you know. But in
that case, it's not a case of individual numbers of MPs. It's what weight politically each of those MPs have.
I get that. The reason why Cameron was given, and it was he thought it was going to win, and otherwise, but 72 of the MPs would have been enough to put in votes of no confidence in him.
Yeah.
And the size of the majority, the size of government he led, you know. So his back was up against the wall. If he'd been strong enough to stand up to these 72 and say, no, we'll put it a vote within the party and see what they want.
Aye.
If he'd done that, he'd have blindsided them.
I think Cameron had already thought he was going to go anyway. If the 2014 referendum had gone the other direction, of course Cameron would have resigned.
Of course he would have.
Yeah.
But as I say, and meanwhile, Sunak's telling anybody to listen, stick with him and stick with the plan. Problem is, none of us know what this fucking plan is, and if there is one, it's certainly not working. Unless you count chaos as a plan.
Yeah.
And I think he does.
Yeah, he does. Of course he does.
You know, but this, stick with us, it's the plan's working, the plan's working, the plan's working. What fucking plan? No, mental.
No, I do honestly believe that somewhere, way in the background of all that, there has been a planning hand at work.
Aye, somewhere in the chaos theory realm of it.
Yes, and when you listen to that, the plan has worked.
Yeah. And the MSM, well, they haven't been riding the Tories hard enough. They know every time there's been a bloody minister trotted out onto telly, they've been asked if they've given up.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes.
Yeah. Grant Sharps this morning, my goodness me, clear as a bell. That's it. The Tories are buggered.
Oh, aye. No.
Yeah.
As I say, latest polling down that road, and the super poll that we were talking about, has the Tories only scored 72 MPs?
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
anyway, let's clash on. Okay. So we've done Rachel Reeves. We've done Reform UK overtakes the Tories in the poll, 72 seats for the Tories, right? Then let's have a look at the Lib Dem manifesto, David.
It's only one thing that interests me, David, because as you know, these wee parties, it's a bit like that bit for John Johnson in the National today when he says that the smaller parties here in Scotland who will never get a chance of getting into power can offer anything they bloody want at a general election because they're never going to be in power.
Correct, yeah.
We got different for the SNP because they are in power in Scotland and they've got to explain and make sure that people understand that the two different places and policies in different places apply in this case.
Yeah.
But the thing that interests me about the Lib Dem manifesto is they've rolled back in their pledge to rejoin the EU. Ed Davies tells us that he would like to take up an Iceland/Denmark type position, get back into the single market, but no, the customs union.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because the customs union, David, would require the 4 pillars of the EU, the single market.
Well, they could do it. They could offer it by offering EFTA, the European Free Trade Association. That's where Finland, Norway, and Iceland are already members of that. Now, they have single market. They have single market, right? But they do not have customs union.
No.
And there's a wee article I saw about the line of vehicles waiting to get through from Sweden into Norway, and it was purely down to the fact that they have no customs union.
Well, anyway, what interested me about that was it's something that, and it's one of the reasons why John Swinney was mentioning the only way back into the EU now is via independence, is because if the Lib Dems have given up and rejoining the EU as well, then there is only one route back into the EU for the Scottish people.
Yes.
And that is independence.
Yep. First off, vote SNP. That's it. No ifs, no buts. You need to hold your nose when you make the thing. Vote SNP, right? That then allows a few things to take place. I still haven't been told by the leadership of the SNP, okay, what does victory look like? What are you going to do if we give you our response to put the maximum number that we can in terms of SNP MPs into the Commons.
Well, he said he'd stick to Holmes's plan.
Yeah.
Holmes's plan was the next Scottish election would then be a de facto referendum.
Yeah, well, in actual fact, Holmes's plan originally was to class the House of Commons, the Westminster election, this one, as you say, as a plebiscite election.
That's the one that makes sense to me.
Yeah, because in that sense, it's just down to the number of seats. Whereas if we go along to the Scottish election, then basically it's number of votes that count. And if you're less than 50%, well, it's iffy, isn't it?
Aye.
Right.
Martin the heavy, naughty step, don't burn your arse in a candle. But as I say, the only thing that interests me in the Lib Dem manifesto, a bit like, although I went through the Green Party manifesto down that road, and Green Party, what we know of the Green Party manifesto, which has already been launched here. I've had a look at the Labour manifesto, I've had a look at the Tory manifesto. I've had Bob Masper Reform UK. I'm letting you do that. If there's anybody wants to get down that rabbit hole, it's you. So you have great fun. Enjoy yourself. But the thing about most of these parties that are not going to get into power, if you take the Green manifesto, for example, as we know, the previous General Secretary is a Labour Party, said she's voting Green this time. Why? Because they've got a more progressive manifesto. But they know they're not getting anywhere near power, so they can promise pie in the fucking sky.
Right. I mean, this is something we were discussing about this section, right? If you go around and you ask people, why did your electricity bills go up? Why now? Why 2-3 years ago? Why then? Right? Let me tell you why. Because we left Euphemia, the EU's method of allowing companies to bid, and it's a Dutch auction. It goes down the way, right? The one that brings in the lowest price is the one that gets chosen, right? So therefore, we left the EU, which had a daily bidding service, and then we put in place our own bidding service, which worked the opposite way. And the first power station to put in a stupid bid, and it was something like £4,000 per kilowatt hour, right? And it was massive, and everybody looked at it, and then all the rest didn't maybe match it. Maybe we came in below that, but it was still way higher than it was, right? So I'm going to give you this. Euphemia is an algorithm that solves the market coupling problem. On the PCR perimeter, Euphemia stands for EU, Pan-European, Hybrid Electricity Market Integration Algorithm. That's a hell of a mouthful, isn't it? It maximizes the welfare of the solution. Most competitive price will arise. It's on my timeline. Go and have a look. It's important to have this right at the back of you. If we get into the EU, then our electricity prices will go down like a rocket.
An interesting comment for Hashbury stumble because Reform don't call it a manifesto, they call it a contract, which is total nonsense. Well, it would be total nonsense if it wasn't the fact that Reform's not a political party, it's a company.
Yeah.
So I guess a company doesn't pick out a manifesto, it picks out bids for contracts.
Right, so sorry, just to continue that, the Euphemia thing is really important. When you're talking to people about maybe independence, or you're talking about voting SNP, SNP is the only route, one and only route. There's no other party that I can point to that would give you independence. Impossible, it's just pie in the sky. Whereas the SNP have got the possibility of doing that, right? So if you want the why are you going to vote SNP for independence? Why do you want independence? Several things, several reasons. We want back into the EU. Why do you want back in the EU? Because my electricity bill at the moment is stupid. It's through the ceiling. And a lot of people have found they just cannot pay it. And a lot of people are on the naughty step, but not naughty step for not paying their electricity bills. Something like that.
Well, DG, we're going to bring this one up actually. GB Energy will not bring prices down. Of course it won't. It's a lie. Of course it's a lie. But what's interesting about it as well is David and I both know that GB Energy has been around since 2013 and it's headquartered in Wales.
Sorry, David. We did a wee bit extra checking on that. It's not the same. It's not the same part. Same company.
Is it no?
No, it's
They've registered the second GB Energy, have they?
no. What they're going to do is they're going to do Great British Energy. Is what the Labour are going to do, right?
Right.
Whereas this GB Energy is owned by this guy, where it's actually the brass plates in Wales.
Aye.
So no, it's I'm pretty certain it's not. It's not the same.
I'm not saying that, David. We're just saying it exists. So they're going to have to either take care of that brand name or rebrand it.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm looking to see what people have written. GB
DJs
Energy
today.
is new PFI.
That's a new PFI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PFI was great. I mean, the Labour landed the people of the UK with a bill that goes on and on and on and on just for building a school.
Aye. Basically, the private companies built the schools and lease it back at fucking twice, 3 times what it's worth.
Yeah.
And by the time
And
they're paid for that building, they need to replace it again.
And the asset, which is the school itself, changed hands umpteen times between banks. One person to buy a school and then put it into his or her asset base and then sell it on to a bank for a much higher value. You know what I mean? It's like, in other words, the money that you've put in to building a school to educate your kids is being used as a toy by the elites to create more money.
The point here, folks, is not what this GB Energy does. It's just that GB Energy exists. It's a registered company, so Labour's can't be the same. What?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
David, hold on.
Yeah.
Wow, that is extremely generous, Liz.
For goodness sake.
Hi, guys. Made and raffled off a hamper to help with your funds.
If I could,
Thank you so very much, Liz.
If I could get off my wheelchair and get down there and blooming kiss your toes.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you. That is mental.
Yeah.
We'll get that out the door as soon as YouTube gets it to us.
Yes. Okay.
We will.
Fantastic.
You're right, Sir Larry. The PFI hospitals were a nightmare and all.
Yes.
But as I say, the only thing that interests me in these smaller parties, the only thing that interests me in the Lib Dems manifesto is the fact that there are now no parties in England with any intention of going back into the EU.
Yeah.
And that leads to John Swinney today in his speech in Stornoway telling people that the only way back into the EU now is through independence. And
the only way to get independence is vote SNP. Vote SNP until it hurts. Seriously. Yep. If you're, I know Chris goes around and does the chats at the doors, right? And you get somebody telling you, oh no, I'm going to vote Labour. Now, the first thing out of your mouth should be, why? And they'll tell you. They'll say, oh, it's because of X, Y, Z. Oh, and we want rid of the Tories and all the rest of it, right? And just put down a few simple markers with that person. You're not looking to challenge them on the doorstep, make them look stupid in the doorstep. That's not the idea. The idea is just put a few things ahead. And the few things ahead is look, we should all vote SNP. Why? because we need independence. Why? Because we want back into the EU. Why? Because that gives us cheaper electricity bills. Then you can do the Euphemia thing and explain that the people in Europe don't pay anywhere near the electricity bills that we do, right? Simple, very, very simple. And
Well,
you go through all the thing, the ABC. You won't suffer from austerity.
David, come on, you and I have been campaigning for years, so we know how to address these things on the doorstep. And it's good information to
Brexit,
pass on to
right?
others. Now, but this,
Brexit
I want to address
will
this
get
one
right
on the
through.
screen, David.
Yeah.
I want to address this one on the screen. Nathan McAllister's telling us that the Tories now want to give disabled people on PIP vouchers instead of cash. So if a disabled person wanted to buy a camera, etc., they probably wouldn't be able to. Disgusting abuse. Well, we've spoke about this digital currency idea and all, where they could actually program your money to be only allowed to spend on certain things as well.
Well, PIP is now been reframed, renamed as the Disability Living Allowance, and it's handled by a different department in Scotland now.
Yes.
All of those things were moved across to this department in Scotland to make the whole thing, like benefit payments and all the rest of it, much fairer. And I have been on the receiving end of that, because PIP, it's down to your circumstances, not financially, but just the circumstances that you've got personally, right? And it's very, very fair. It's actually a good help, yeah. So there you go. All right. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of it all, because I put people off anyway. Uh, so PIP is it'll be still PIP for people in England, right? And to be honest with you, it's more to do with the what's it you call it, David? The contract, the social contract between
Social
the
contract.
government and the people. The
Yes.
social contract between the government and the people in Scotland is brilliant. The social contract between the people and the government in England is dreadful. And why the people of England are putting up with it, I really don't know. I think you should be doing something about it.
Aye, they
Yeah,
should.
yeah.
But the
I'm not going
problem,
to.
as I
I'm
say,
not.
David, this
I'm
is
not
back.
going to. I'm not going to tell you to take up big sticks and all the rest of it and run towards the House of Commons. No, but I think you need to do more about it.
What
Yeah,
they really need to do is stop watching the news down there and watch somewhere up here for a change.
yeah,
Because what they do is the BBC especially, particularly, they manipulate the media in each area so they don't know what the other areas are doing.
yeah. I
So
just,
if
I
there's,
just
if
got
there's
to.
a positive progressive policy working in Scotland,
Yeah.
it would be a media blackout on it in England.
Yeah, well, in actual fact, Nathan's actually put a good. He says so. This might not apply to Scotland, correct? So Scots should continue to receive cash, whilst people in England and Wales receive vouchers.
Probably aye.
And yeah, uh, yeah. If we end up with a digital currency, doesn't matter. Basically, they've got full control over your money anyway. You take your phone. If you've had too many McDonald's burgers this month, and they don't want you getting fat, then you got to pay for one. You got Disney work. Your phone's there, and it doesn't.
That's what they're talking about with
So
digital currency, aye,
yeah,
where they can control
yeah,
what you spend your money on.
yeah. So good one, Nathan. Good one. Good to bring it up, and thank you for that. The SNP are the only party who can unseat Tories in Scotland. Yes, correct. And I would say that there's another one, which was the change of the territory. Yeah, for certain of the seats.
Boundary
There's
changes.
one particular seat in Edinburgh where it was Lib Dem. It was a Lib Dem lady that won it last time. And just due to the change of that particular seat, it's suddenly going to let a lot of SNP voters in. it's possible that the Lib Dems could lose that this time round.
It'd be nice to see. It would be nice to see the boundary changes working out to your advantage for a fucking change.
Yeah, well, it's just that it's that one particular area, right?
And Ginger's telling us that they have food vouchers in America for those on disability.
Yes, yeah, I appreciate that. It's well, I'm working hard so that I get out of that, and I'm no longer classed as disabled.
You always be
We'll
cautious of
see.
that going forward. Anyway, apparently we are getting a Scottish TV channel starting up on 1st of August. I've seen Gordon Ross saying something about it, but another one of his YouTube channels or another digital channel online that doesn't go anywhere or do anything.
Well, we had ITV that did nothing. Yeah.
No, it's still there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's still on that platform.
It's crazy. It really, really is. We need.
But as I say, the media carefully manipulates how each region sees what's going on, and that way they don't realise, say there's a more progressive policy in England, in England, Wales, Scotland, or Northern Ireland, then there'll be a blackout in these progressive policies elsewhere.
However, when you get somebody like Martin Geisler, who, if you remember, what was it? What was the thing that we had? He gave Starmer a doing on TV regarding independence, and he was basically saying, "Look, if you're all for if Scotland is in a voluntary union, right? Then please tell us." This was Martin Geisler from the BBC.
But no, we played it last week, David. Is your memory starting to go?
Yeah, I know. Please tell us how we get independence, what route we take. And Starmer just
apparently it's going to be another internet channel.
Yeah.
Which is all fine. But it's still no gain as a big enough platform within Scottish media.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, time's moving on, so we better get to the daftest or knob of the week. Daftest election candidate of the week or knob of the week. Anyway, this week goes to the Reform. I did say there'd be a lot of Reform UK candidates in here. Anyway, it goes to Reform UK candidate Grant Sinclair Armstrong, Reform candidate for the Northwest Essex. And he's had to stand down because once upon a time in 2010, he wrote on the Joey Trest a blog spot that every time he picks up a paper in the UK and has a look at the state of UK, he thinks, if Ian Powell was alive today, he'd have the same answer as me, vote BNP. Now, why this is the bit that made me laugh, David. Reform UK is about only one step away from being fucking BNP, so why would he have to stand down for that?
I know.
Anyway,
he is most definitely knob of the week.
Listen, anybody that wants to quote Enoch Powell and says that he had the answer, which brought us up to that wee woman we seen in the National talking to the mixed race English supporter. That was quite brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I wonder if I've still got it there for comedy effect. Let me have a look, see if I can find that.
Honestly, it really is. How somebody can think that way. That's it's what can we call it? Can we name it as the Dross effect? Yeah. Dross has come out with some crackers. Basically, he's committed political suicide. You look at these people quoting, the old chap saying, "The streets will run with blood." Fuck's sake.
Can't remember where it was. Politics, was it?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
But people should see it. It was absolutely shocking.
Yeah, well, no, but it's easy to call someone like that a racist. This yet again was a conversation that you and I had.
No, to be racist.
Yeah, there's no such thing as racism. There's only one race, the human race, right? And in actual fact, someone that's quoting that they don't like people with coffee colour or black skin or whatever, right? Or they're from this place or that place. It is xenophobia. Xenophobia at one time was all right when we all lived in little tiny communities and we didn't have the health services and all the rest of it, right? Someone coming from another area you had to be wary of them because they could be bringing disease or they might have a big sword and chop you up, right? So that's xenophobia. So xenophobia was a good thing. Be scared. It's a fear of other, right? However, nowadays we don't need that. We don't need xenophobia.
Anyway, I can't
It's,
find it.
yeah, it's part of your mind that you've got an upper mind. Control it, right? Simple as that.
But it was funny. I mean, to be a wee woman, oh, it's no personal, hen. You should just say where you came from. Wee woman, wee lassie's looking as if to say, I'm for Hereford, telling her I'm for Herefordshire.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So, in fact, at the end of the interview with the wee woman, the lassie says to the studio at Navarra Media, says, there you go. I've to go back to Hertfordshire, wasn't it? Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, wee woman says, I've to go back to Hertfordshire. That was
Yeah.
so funny, you know. But as I say, she was such a pleasant wee woman, well-being.
Yeah.
Bloody well xenophobic.
Yeah, DJ Mark makes a nice statement. He says, where did it go? I've lost it at the bottom of the screen. Where are you?
Aye. Oh, apparently there's a Sky News clip with a couple of old people here in Scotland, and they were asked how they were voting about independence all the way.
Yeah.
But so why does Sky thought he maybe have to stand down for reform? I guess there was pressure for inside reform as they try to clean their image all a wee bit. But as far as I can tell, reform's only they're just a step away from the PMP anyway.
Yeah.
Farage is way up there. Right, what's going on in Israel and Gaza? Military pause on Gaza.
I've quite simply, I've not written anything on this section. I've just put the word geopolitics
Aye, well,
because
what we'll
there's
go
a
is
lot happening. First off, we'll start with Netanyahu. Can you explain what's happened since Benny Gantz pulled out a few people from the Israeli war cabinet?
he's now wound it up under pressure because it looks like this war. There's going to be an election in Israel, but it looks it after Gantz quit.
So if there's an election, and it's that's it. They wind up the present government. It sounds to me like Mr. Netanyahu is going to go to jail. There's
Aye,
lots of different things on him in his own country, right? And if he moves to another country, he's going to go to jail there. So. But quite right. The Asprey Stumble has said the Rafah crossing is still closed. In
yes,
actual fact, what I heard this morning was that the Rafah, there was still fighting going on.
there is now. They're saying by dissolving the war cabinet, Netanyahu avoids a tricky situation with his coalition partners and international allies. But a spokesman for the Israeli Defence Force says it ain't going to make any difference on the ground.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Gantz and Mr. Eisenhower joined a national unity government with Mr. Netanyahu's right-wing coalition days after the start of the war in October, but it's starting to break down.
Yeah, when you look at it, common sense.
And we know that
the IDF, imagine it as being big dugs with elastic bands in their willies, right? You take the elastic bands off the willies and off they go, right? And until you get the government saying, right, that's it, war is over, and they pull the tanks and the soldiers out from the place, they're going to continue just shooting people like shooting fish in a barrel.
as we know, Owen Jones 2 days ago interviewed one of the UN officials on the ground there.
Yeah.
And he witnessed two fishermen getting shot dead for no reason, just trying to catch fish to feed their family.
Yeah.
You know, and he was saying that they're deliberately blocking aid into northern Gaza, they're blocking aid into Rafah, and they're still on offensive going on in Rafah. So the UN, the Security Council accepting the US's resolution on a ceasefire hasn't seemed to have done anything.
Well, it seems to me that these kids effectively they put blooming guns in their hands and put them in a uniform, right? Maybe give them a few weeks of training, right? They're just mad. They're just doing what they fancy.
Sorry, work for UNICEF guy.
Yeah, let's go blow up that building today, right? And they'll sit there in a group with a building in the background, and somebody presses a button and it goes bang, drops to the floor. I mean that's the size of it. That's what these people in the IDF are doing.
Well, as I say, it's no abating at all. The Security Council's resolution on a ceasefire has been ignored. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, there's conscription squads sending Ukrainian men into hiding. Basically, they're press ganging Ukrainian men into joining the services for age 25 to 60 because they're running out of manpower, they're knackered. There's supposed to be a peace talks going on underway. Putin's laid out his terms. He wants 4 regions of southern Ukraine along with the Crimea, and he wants Zelensky to back off on the idea of joining NATO.
That's fair enough. Looking at it, I think that's fair enough. As far as the 3 or 4 areas that he's talking about that gives him the route into the Crimea.
He wants Donetsk, he wants Luhansk, he wants Kherson, and he wants Zaporozhye.
Yeah. Well, we had a bigger partition than that in India when Pakistan was set up, right? So it can happen. It's not something. It's not a dream world or whatever. It is something that can happen.
Well,
I think,
David, as you and I know, there was a peace treaty on the table before this whole thing kicked off. As you and I know, Boris Johnson intervened. Now, what was in that peace treaty that was on the table before that was that Russia would take control of these areas for 7 years. Then there'd be a referendum on whether they wanted to be Ukrainian or Russian.
Yeah. Which would have been the way to go, which would have been much more straightforward. And what would have happened is that people that didn't like it would find a way to leave, but they would have been allowed to leave. They would have been okay leaving and moving back into other parts of the Ukraine. It's what's happened is people have just been slaughtered.
Johnny Kay is right. The Ukraine are running out of resources.
Yeah.
The most precious resource of them all is manpower.
Yeah.
Their forces are exhausted, they're depleted, and the people are being press ganged into serving between the ages of 20 and 60.
Yeah.
There's a report of one couple who have had most of the family and friends turn down invites to their weddings because they're frightened that the conscription gangs would come round and lift them off of the wedding. So there's a real problem with manpower for the Ukrainians, and as nobody from the outside Ukraine is going to allow are going to commit troops to help the Ukrainian side, I'm afraid this is going to be ended very, very soon. Unlike the Palestinian situation, which will end when Palestine runs out of people.
Yeah.
This one needs to end soon, or it won't just be 4 regions in the south or 5 regions in the south of Ukraine that goes to Russia. It'll be the whole of bloody Ukraine that goes to Russia because they're done.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
However, the one outstanding issue there is, right, if we just ignore Zelensky at the moment, right, is Putin. Putin has put himself in power and he has maintained that by whatever means during an election. There are no
There's no alternative in Russia to Putin.
Yeah, basically the people that have put themselves up as an alternative have ended up in a gulag somewhere. Have ended up dying, poisoned. So I think Putin needs, after all this is done, Putin needs taken to task by every country on the planet.
But as I say, that's where the Ukrainians are at. They're 2 years in, they're out of manpower.
Yeah.
They're knackered. They're having to press gang men up to the age of 60 into fighting.
Millie, I see you're saying like
Ukrainians are very
Zelensky.
brave.
Yeah, he's been a
Ukrainians are
fortune
very
for
brave, but
him.
eventually reality is going to kick in.
Yeah.
Russia's the biggest a bigger force. They have more manpower available. There's only 44 million Ukrainians and 180 million Russians.
Yeah.
Simple maths says the Russians will win. It's time the West got their head wrapped around this and got Zelensky back to round the table and accepted the original deal where, okay, Putin, you can have these regions as long as we can have a referendum with the people in them in 7 years' time, and as long as the people in them, if they don't want to be Russian, can move into the rest of Ukraine. That's what needs to be done.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the Ukrainians have fought like tigers, but they're cornered. They're out of manpower, they're out of resources, the West is losing interest, and the West doesn't have the financial resources to keep backing Ukraine at this point in time.
Yeah, that's I actually saw right back at the start, if you remember, certain families sort of like, a man, his wife, a couple of Waynes heading for Poland or wherever, right? And you could feel the angst against the man. What are you doing leaving Ukraine? You should be going back. You should get the wife and Wayne's safe, and then you head back and fight. Not everybody's a fighter.
No.
Not everybody's able
right,
to.
David, we're up there the hour point. I think we've covered most of the important things that are going on here in Scotland and down that road. And of course, a wee update on what's going on in Israel and Gaza and Ukraine.
Yeah.
Viewing figures have been great again today. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Thank you very much.
We'll put it up.
And there, sliding under the wire.
Please check, lock it on, Double Down News, YouTube, eye opening. We'll have a wee look at it.
Oh, I definitely will. Right, thank you.
Say thanks again for viewing in huge numbers, folks. 213 is right here at the end of the programme. I think it was about 240 at the peak. Mind, folks, eyes on the prize.
Yes.
An election year. When it comes to time to walk into that ballot box, put your cross in the SNP box.
Do you want to know something? Scotland could turn out to be a much different place, much fairer, all the rest of it, right? The people would do really, really well in an independent Scotland. And all it takes is for everybody just to go, right, okay, let's do that. Go into the ballot station, get the polling card out, SNP, wherever you are, just vote SNP.
It's about hope over fear, David.
Yes,
the unionists use fear to keep us in the union.
Yeah.
We need hope to outshine fear.
Yes.
Okay. So thanks very much for the super chats, especially to Liz. That was a mega super chat. Thanks very much, Liz, and for your fundraising efforts. Thank you. Well, thanks to everybody else who gave us a super chat.
Yeah.
And as soon as it comes in for YouTube, we'll get it out the door, folks. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And that just leaves one thing left today, David.
What? Oh, I'm just going to give you one thing just before you go, and that this will perhaps help people understand where are we? There we are. To Davies.
Oh, are you checking the funds in the bank?
Yeah. Now we started off I don't know if you can see that. You
No,
might
I
not be
can't
able
see
to
it.
see
Just
it.
read it.
It's at the moment we've got £502 in the fund,
That's good.
but that doesn't count what we got the other day
Aye, or the day.
because we just started off. We started off. We
We
got the
don't even
super
know what
stamp
date
back
that
in
payment will
place.
start coming through again at David. So we'll just
Yeah,
need to wait and see.
as
But
soon as that
it's
hits
nice
us,
that it's
that'll
back.
go up quite considerably.
Yes, it's nice that it's
So
back, and we'll get the
thank
money
you.
that's in the account out. Okay, right.
Right,
So I just leaves one thing left today, David.
which is bye,
Right,
Davey.
David.
Bye, guys.
Bye, folks. See you on Thursday,
Yep.
4 p.m.